Spoiler warning! This analysis video is going to get into spoilers for War of the Worlds 2025. So if you haven't watched this movie yet, don't do it. I put more effort in this one. Hey guys! It's the lamp! And how happy would it make you feel to write a work that is so impactful that it gets talked about even after over a century after you make it? What if your creative ideas about aliens managed to influence billion-dollar franchises that you likely would never get to see? What if you were H.G. Wells and were watching this movie for the first time? Oh, a black person. War of the Worlds 2025 is, hopefully by the last 2 months, the latest terrible pattern of Amazon schlock given to us by Bezos himself. It was directed by Grammy-winning director Rich Lee and had a screenplay written by Kenneth A. Gold and Mark Hyman. It stars Ice Cube, who was casted in this because they wanted a celebrity to appear in this movie but couldn't pay for one that wasn't washed up and bored with his life. And David Bostic, who was just here to make his IMDb page even more ridiculous. It was made in the great pandemic of 2020, which you probably forgot happened thanks to how chronically online you are. Thanks to executives probably expecting a War of the Worlds adaptation to, take pretty long to be produced, this film ended up rotting for 5 years straight in the vault before it got dropped on Amazon Prime. Let me repeat this. 5 years. That tape was sitting sprawled on the floor like Springtrap in the vault. I struggle to believe that none of these people decided to just throw this draft down the toilet and start from scratch again. I mean, this clearly costed like $100. I'm pretty sure this was edited in Sony Vegas 9 or something. Furthermore, with that much time and Fredbear's flights, how much money would you bet that every single actor here forgot they were in this movie? Because they don't give a shit about this at all. I'm imagining Ice Cube walking up in his multi-million-dollar home, checking his phone, opening Letterboxd, and then going, "Why the fuck is my face all over this popular page? War of the Worlds? Since when was I in the War of the Worlds? Why is there even a new War of the Worlds to begin with? That's a stupid idea." It's like a message to your future self. Except the message is about the time you pissed yourself at school and got laughed at. No, but seriously, apparently this film took 5 years to make because of production bullshit involving having to record it under a Universal and then selling it for Amazon so they can release it exclusively on their platform. But I'm pretty sure that I, a guy with zero knowledge of business stuff, can say that that's not usually why you don't release something for 5 years. I think they really just wanted to stop thinking about it. But after staying alone, collecting dust, it can finally come out of its shell and face the world so it can bully it back into where it once came from. War of the Worlds 2025 is by no means a revolutionary take, as it is from a long line of descendants, spanning from 1953 to 2019, with movies and TV shows galore. The good ones, the 50s one and the Spielberg one, are good because they're allegorical for the threat of the nuclear apocalypse and 9/11 respectively. And they're also just good movies. The bad ones, which is like 90% of these, are corporate schlocks that are more just bad disaster movies with H.G. Wells' face on it. This adaptation does not tackle any apocalyptic fears, such as the two good ones I mentioned you. You'd think that'd be a bad thing, since there's realistically not much else an alien invasion story against planet Earth could really be a metaphor to, which you'd be right on. But you see here, War of the Worlds 2025 is a subversive monster movie. Like any good monster movie, the monster isn't what we are paying attention to. Instead, it's part of a puzzle for the deeper message. Before we go balls deep into this movie, I'm going to tell you the main argument, the crux of this film, in order to better contextualize it as a work of art. Large corporations stealing large amounts of our data is a crime against humanity, because one day in the future, a swarm of aliens might come steal all their data and leave. Bet you never thought about that possibly happening, Amazon. So with that in mind, let's get into our analysis of this movie and what it presents. The story starts with William Radford, a top-class vet who's just clocking at his job in Homeland Security, which is operating a state-of-the-art surveillance system to watch people if they're getting into anything funny. He gets on his computer, and in this computer will be where the entire story takes place, using computer stuff like Facebook DMs and impromptu Zoom meetings. This style of filmmaking is called screen life, and if you hear all that and see some interesting potential, don't worry, this film doesn't realize any of them. early on in his day, some random woman decides it would be vital information to the DHS to know that the weather is pretty bad. Ice Cube, being an understandable man, tells her off and says he watches people in our weather, and that the dangerous people in America must have a closer eye on them than the clouds. So anyways, once he gets off of that, Ice Cube gets back to stalking his daughter. But before he could probably use his time at work at that day, he gets notified by our leader, Director Simmons, that there's a hacker over at YouTube currently threatening the United States to release top-secret government information about Project Goliath via the livestream function, and that he has to help now. Upon going to this livestream, however, we quickly deduced that Director Simmons is being fucking stupid because no hacker organization would use this stock as fuck background when they're trying to convince people they're legit. This is how it is until we mention Goliath and realize this is either some sort of 300 IQ joke by the other employees or this is some children that got really lucky. So to get to them, Ice Cube turns on his Hacker Spotter 9000 over the LA area and magically spots over 100 possible locations to do the work for him. Right as it is going up, the spotter detects someone buying a cupcake as suspicious activity, as it always is, and notifies him to go check out immediately. And he finds out the cupcake buyer is his daughter. Instead of disregarding that as an error and going back to watching the machine to do its work, in the midst of a government raid, by the way, is so disgusted by her dietary decisions that he FaceTimes her to yell at her for it. While yelling at her, she's named Faith, by the way, for being a gluttonous sinner, he also hacks into her fridge to insult her diet even more. He hacked his daughter's fridge to keep watch on her diet. Here's a quote on the Wikipedia page on this film by the producer that reads, "If aliens visited today, how would we experience it? Most likely, we'd be watching it on our phones. In that way, it's kind of a modern spin on Orson Welles' World of Worlds. Back then, he used radio, the most popular technology of our time, to make people believe the invasion was real. Today, that medium is the screen of our devices." So this is how reality is, I guess, to this guy. Or they forgot they were making a sci-fi film, but whatever at this point. So anyways, after yelling at Faith and still while doing an FBI raid, Ice Cube sees time to go hack into his son's computer and delete 5 Nights at Fuzzboobs off of his Steam page before leaving and getting an angry call by him just 5 seconds later, implying he was busy playing it just now. Turns out, in an even worse revelation, his son was a streamer, and that the reason that he deleted his games was because he's a boomer and doesn't personally agree with his dumb hobby. After he talks some shit about his helicopter parenting, like any child with this kind of demented parent, Ice Cube cuts off a Zoom call. This turns out to be an opportune moment because his Hacker Spotter 9000 finally found the hacker's address, and then his hatred of live streaming is turned into a hypocrisy after he smacks a "that was easy" soundboard on out of happiness like that's a normal thing for a Fed to have on his desk. Ice Cube live streamer. And then tells another Fed to go fetch them a search warrant as fast as possible for the raid. But then, in a shocking twist, he gets a call from someone in the family. Specifically their newest member, Faith's boyfriend, who's currently fathering his daughter's upcoming baby, who accidentally reports to Ice Cube that he and Faith are having a baby shower and that he was not invited. Presumably this was out of the assumption he'd be watching the whole thing like it's Night Trap on the Sega CD. So after finding this out, and instead of messaging Faith directly about why she didn't tell him like he was about to, Ice Cube simply opts to explain to the audience why that is by hacking into her daughter's computer and role-playing as her talking to her boyfriend about it for no reason whatsoever. Well, that and for him to drop an artificial lie and explain that he doesn't think his daughter is safe to go into the real world already. We also get the information that Faith is a scientist and has successfully created a cannibal code, which beyond sounding like some cruelty squad shit doesn't matter until the third act. The aliens haven't come down yet, by the way, this is how bad it is. So anyways, as exposited by a Facebook anniversary notification, it turns out he's like this because sometime in his past, his wife died in a horrific, plant accident about 5 years ago, which set him on the path to be a more diligent and worrisome father. This is shown off when Ice Cube sends his dead wife's DM an "I love you" message, as he does every year, and plays her last voice message reminding him to take out the trash already. God. This is a solemn moment in which we should stop sucking bitch ass. We got the warranty. Tap their fucking soundboard, Ice Cube. The FBI, now with permission, speed on ahead inside the hacker's building with full rifle and armory. Ice Cube watching on from the cameras all around. Except he can't, as all the cams have been watchdogs to display Vine gifts instead of anything. So Ice Cube is simply forced into watching from the Fed armory in their chest plate, probably to disguise the fact that this is some shitty crack house we're trying to pass up as a hacker base. As the police go around the area, they find a burner computer in a bedroom that the hackers Spar 9000 supposedly connected to. This either means the whole thing is a bust and the hacker isn't here, or this was deliberately put here for the feds to think that, especially since they shut off security cameras and replaced them with the gifts. Which sounds like a wild amount of good measure to pass Occam's razor to me. Either way, whoever did this is probably loaded, seeing how that's clearly a 2010's laptop and not some faulty Windows Vista from some guy from eBay sold them. But before these good men could have a choice between the two, a fucking meteor hits and kills the entire task force, and Ice Cube soy jacks about this. What's going on in there? Well, it turns out those storms the lady from the service was telling Ice Cube about wasn't quite nothing. As now the whole world is getting flooded with asteroids left and right. We get a montage of this catastrophe as news sources begin to report about this story as soon as it's happening, which either means news goes out faster than gossip in an all-girls school in this universe, or this has been going on for like 10 minutes till now, and that this is when he finally notices it. His first instinct upon witnessing all of this happening around the globe is to go look around for his kids to make sure they get safe and sound. So he turns on the cams to Faith's laboratory to find his girl stressing out under a table as the place crumbles around her. Ice Cube decides to call Faith's boyfriend to go come save her at the lab. After this, he catches a call from his son as he's running for his life, who he then begins to tell to get out of there, get out, now, as he tracks him for his computer. He witnesses his son almost get fucking vaporized by the alien, and Ice Cube soy jacks about this again. Next, he gets on a DHS Zoom call with the FBI Director Briggs in an emergency meeting. Why was he called? Because someone on ground zero of convenient FBI connection is getting close to one of the meteorites and they need to see it. This is despite the fact that the invasion probably started like 5 minutes ago, and as shown by one of the news reporters, this hit a lot of areas, so she was probably outright sprinting before this like a maniac. But just as the internet was bugging and the woman got closer, suddenly a bunch of tentacles erupt out of the mirror and attack her, leaving her fate unknown as the video cuts out. The viewers, now all fully convinced this is the Cubans' fault, say they have to call the president to get switched to DEFCON 1. Ice Cube is a perfect candidate to play a government official, to be honest, if you really think about it. Number 1, he started this gangster shit back in the 80s. Number 2, he had a good day once, when he got the job. And number 3, he is very anti-Semitic. According to Wikipedia, he's been talking about his anti-Semitism since his debut album in the 1990s. Has been putting out anti-Jewish bars in his raps, would tweet a mural about it once on Twitter, and is rumored to have ordered the beatdown of a rabbi. Perfect candidates! But anywho, in Ice Cube's first act of normalcy in the entire film, he decides to deny a call from his Tower of Faith in order to follow through on getting a planetary alliance and all. He gets a text from one of the NASA girls to go call him instead of calling him directly. And when she does, she gives him a front row seat on watching one of the meteorites from earlier turn into one of the alien mechas. To which he reacts with a goddamn, in case you didn't realize how much Ice Cube is giving a shit about this movie. He activates a bunch of the cameras all around the woman and hits the audience with another "oh my god" and tells her audience to stay right in there, despite her being dangerously close to the mech as just established. Ice Cube gets a call by his son, who argues with him about the alien's threat a little and tries to reveal something important. But Ice Cube tells him to shut up and sit tight yet again, despite him sparing the time to hear something not too important all throughout this movie. A federal helicopter spontaneously appears over the NASA girl in the way to save her from that alien's clutches, but the alien, rather predictably, Godzilla lasers both the heli and the girl. As CNN uncharacteristically misses a chance to blame this alien attack on gay space libtards, Ice Cube helpfully rushes into the director's DMs to tell him there's an alien attack going on. So while the director tries to contact for a missile attack response, Ice Cube looks at the floor for a moment, picks out some camera footage of some guy watching a field for some reason that the aliens interrupted, and manages to find out how fast and strong the mechs are by downloading the metadata of the vid, because Ice Cube can just do everything in this film. He can just spawn jets in to stalk shit down on the ground so he can just look at everywhere, because every single corner of the city has a camera constantly running, apparently. But despite having god powers granted by being a Fed, he decides to spend some of his time in this attack to collect videos of the aliens and put them into his Google Doc folder for future use as they get closer and closer to fucking up the world. As he makes his collection, Ice Cube Star Faith calls him up to further feed his new special interest for aliens by giving him another front row seat for an alien mecha attack. Except this time, when Faith gets hit by a laser and Ice Cube steps out of his seat in sheer hype, it turns out the girl survived the building next to her crashing down and tumbling on her somehow. As demonstrated when Ice Cube reveals he's had a heart rate tracker of his star for some suspicious reason. And not just somewhere on his desktop either, on his taskbar. Also, according to his tracker, he's been having mixed amounts of concern for this alien invasion. Even now, she's at 100. What the fuck happened in the past to get 116 one time? And this is how she reacts to a near-death experience. Well, anyways, Faith picks the dropped phone back up with a visibly injured jagged leg, and Ice Cube instinctively asks if the baby is okay and if his bloodline is secure. Ice Cube then tells the girl to, once again, stay right there, as if she can get up and leave at this point, so he could call himself over 911 in order to save her. Unfortunately, all the operators are busy with everyone else, clearly, so Ice Cube instead opts to make a mad dash to save her after going outside. But more unfortunately, he locked himself in his room for some reason, and now only has this 2x2 plane to work with now. That or one of the aliens locked him in to prevent his getaway somehow. That's a missed opportunity in my point of view. If a filmmaker took the opportunity to switch from screen life into a normal movie, that could have been a good-ass moment. One of the things about this movie's presentation is that in the internet, things take less effect than they would in real life. A heartfelt conversation on the internet isn't going to be the same as one in person, so maybe using a scene where Ice Cube is outside could be pretty darn good to establish how exactly this invasion is like. But this is a piece of capitalistic slop made by a man whose company has a Wikipedia page on their sketchy practices as fat as a short story. And it was set up to do nothing but be put on the background like a slightly interesting YouTube video, all while having about as much product placement as the Emoji Movie, but not even without any of the creativity. So what am I even expecting off of this? The movie fully hears my cry of missed potential but misunderstands it in a purely cynical way, as Ice Cube keeps Star on the phone as he storms out of a building in order to get her and save her. Is this like a TikTok duet now, or have we switched perspectives or some shit? Who cares? It's snapped back to the computer again. In a super action scene in which an alien mecha marches towards his daughter, Ice Cube hacks a neighboring Tesla in like 5 seconds in order to save Faith, driving her to get bandaged up at the hospital as if the place probably doesn't also have the same problem as the police does right now. So when Ice Cube realizes this, he just opts to get his daughter to a secure location, presumably while making sure there's some first aid. I don't know how the fuck she got a building crashing over her only to get a twig stuck in her leg. Maybe they just cut corners to save up for putting cameras on people's dicks and fill that cement with foam, but I do know she needed at least like a week before being okay still. Or just a couple of days, seeing as how she had to walk to get over here. So anywho, as she's in the car, her and her dad begin having a personal talk, starting with him acknowledging that it was overall a pretty rational decision to not invite him at the baby shower. This heads towards a speech by Faith that basically kind of boils down to, hey Pop, we're adults now, fucking stop dude. Which also includes the line, you're not as powerful as you think. Messier with how many privacy violations this man's having and how much this man disrespects authority in a time of apocalyptic proportions. He's probably getting away with jacking off watching people have hot sex. He is that powerful, just ask him to not be a bitch. Ice Cube, who just had his character arc kicked into motion by the force of a random speech by his daughter and a fucking alien invasion, hang up so Fizz could have some more battle later on, but instead of telling her and then hanging up, he just hangs up and then texts her it for some reason. I'm really not sure whether this would take more or less Barry, but yeah. I am trying to narrate this film as comprehensive and straightforward as a good Wikipedia article as best as I can, but this film has just so much bullshit baked into every aspect of every scene that it makes me feel like I'm becoming a cinema sins. Literally, just give me 2 black bars, a sig counter, timer at the top, and zoophilia, and boom, I'm golden. This is exactly how I should have formatted this stupid video. Then, Ice Cube, with the help of an FBI buddy, manages to GPS track her daughter's life-saving cars in spite of the fact he could have just tracked her just fine without visuals. After snapping a pic to make sure his buddy is sure, he goes to his daughter's boyfriend, who has just hijacked a for some reason lowered truck from Amazon TM. Amazon TM, the most reliable source for online shopping that there always is, and is driving straight to catch his daughter he's already just caught himself. Instead of asking him if there's some first aid somewhere in those boxes, or if he passed the pistols from work so he can use his weapons to lobby the mechs, he tells him to go to my authority, which I'm pretty sure he was already doing, judging by the things of it. Maybe he was making sure he wasn't trying to finish work first before saving his girlfriend out of the knowledge that boss will shout at him for that, and he can't risk being fired in this economy. But anyways, after making sure of what Mark is doing, he, and I feel like a broken Jeff Wayne's record while I say this, while still during an active alien invasion, decides to write an emotional email to her daughter about his parenting towards her as she's literally in a life or death scenario waiting for her boyfriend to save him. The opportune time. But just as he starts typing on it, he goes to watch the world's speediest news network for more info about the invasion. The bad news is that the flood of asteroids towards Earth has also caught some of the Earth's satellites in its process while crushing down, meaning Ice Cube is definitely very lucky for being able to do all of this uninterrupted and should be doing some more important stuff rather than this by now. And the good news is that the world is all bracing together to fuck up all those mechs and save down the Earth. But with that enigmatic revelation shown up, Director Briggs invites our homie Ice Cube to a second meeting, this time with the President of the USA, the POTUS himself that sounds like Donald Trump, talking about the mechas and what to do with them. Ice Cube decides to use his Google Slide collection of alien recordings to good use by starting a lecture on how the alien mechas are all targeting the important bits in order to prevent communication between the governments, prompting a sigh of relief from the man, as this means they're all very bad at their jobs. Then he says that based on this, the aliens should be going out for the nuclear power plants. I guess because they'd be doing the most amount of carnage if blown up, leading to some questioning by the other FBI mates on his logic, since if that were to be true, they'd have gone to go blow them up immediately. And furthermore, if the alien plan was to take what they came for and also take out humanity in the process of doing so, why don't they just immediately take out the White House? And you know, all the other presidents' houses too, so that there wouldn't be any final say for what to do in the world, leading to anarchy, and thus an easier time killing everyone. I mean, they're all hive-minded, they can all gang up the war of the world, says the president randomly. Ice Cube nearly hits his that was easy button, and instead just hits a bell for dramatic effect. Now that his president gave his speech, Ice Cube views the CNN report that was published literally directly after he said it, watching the things that he already knows. Along with this, he watches some premium fresh war footage of soldiers killing mechas with rocket launchers, shouting whenever they hit like a football spectator when his favorite team scores a point. As he gets yet another call by the NASA chick, the Tesla that carried out Faith has turned out to have searched his destination, sending a notification to his computer, implying he personally owned the car or something. Once he turns on the camera for it, it turns out her daughter just had her period right there in the car seat, and she just ran out as it was driving out of embarrassment, as led on by her stress reflected onto her heart rate. Ice Cube follows her through cameras off into the hospital, and then has a call with her, just to find her trying to pull out the rubble out of her leg by herself in an empty hospital room. Faith left the Tesla before it came to its destination, so this woman managed to get into a hospital faster than the car did. I'm sure she'd be completely alright with some band-aids. Maybe she could do it herself. So anyways, after another call to her boyfriend to go speed up more, Sandra, the NASA girl, opts to send a video message to Icy. In this video, she does nothing at all, and Ice Cube realizes from his math that every time those alien mechas turn around, they do some loud noises for whatever reason that has the side effect of corrupting videos for some reason. Which I guess they just put in because Ice Cube then figures out where they're soon going towards by right-clicking on them so that they show where they go. And that place turns out to be some random building the aliens are inexplicably interested in. But suddenly, his son, a civilian, calls up his dad, a man who knows incriminating government secrets, to talk to him about incriminating government secrets and how he thinks they're real. Specifically, he talks about the Goliath Project, a mass government thing to steal everyone's private information, presumably to sell to advertisers, which his dad scoffs about. If you're wondering what possible reason he could be doing this, especially during an alien invasion in which he's busy saving his daughter from life-threatening circumstance, and especially since it's true, don't worry, it's part of his plan. We'll reveal later. I guess one pro about this disaster piece of a film is that at least it isn't agonizingly long. As in, at least as being a screen life movie, let it be comedy paced rather than drama paced. Sometimes this film feels a lot like a huge joke and part of everyone involved, but I wouldn't say it's like this because of its limitations. More so how this film is so flattened by the numbers that the main character really only warrants like a simple moment to explain who they are, rather than having their personality peppered in throughout the movie. You loved your kids? What did this ink blot seem like to you? You miss your wife? What Harry Potter character are you? Just something more deep and less boringly American, buddy. Also, side note, I just realized this film has the exact same length as Eraserhead, and I find that very funny, because Eraserhead is the exact opposite of this movie if you think about it. Anyways, turns out the buildings those big alien mamas were ogling are government data centers, which they've come down for. Either the aliens just Google where all of their locations are, or seeing how the public knows about these buildings, thanks for these helpful news broadcast audios playing in the background for some reason, or there was an extraterrestrial mole in the government that collected all of this info for the attack to go smoothly. If I was whoever had these guys, I'd have done that. I would watch that movie before I watch this. Unfortunately, the cameras in the building go out, so he can't get a good look at what's happening in there, meaning he has to rely on the NASA chick to see it. This doesn't show enough stuff, so he looks to a helpful but implausibly designed visual of his servers, getting quickly and randomly guided of their energy before him, letting him know exactly what's happening. And after the chick disconnects in an even more implausible worldwide data status, tells him it's having a critical low, this leads to all military tanks and aircraft to start malfunctioning all over the place, because all government weapons in the future are powered by Wi-Fi electricity. This leads for an entire military meeting to happen about this, talking about how they have to do airplane mode AK-47s now. But back to Faith and her strong fucking leg, Mark managed to get over the building and pull out the rubble from a bleeding walk machine, but failed to realize he needs to slap a bandage on it for her to stop spilling bodily fluids, leading to him calling her dad for help. He yells at him to get a tourniquet or something, and then starts to bandage her with a fucking Home Depot tape, telling him not to worry because he's a pro at this. But thankfully this goes successfully, and we turn back to plot device Penny, who during the couple of minutes she was out, took the time to domesticate some little alien bugs that she found inside the servers. In this call, she shows them sucking off a small chip card and exposits how they feed off of data, mentioning how this also makes them smarter in the process, implying that these little bugs are the ones who build these robots themselves with their lack of fingers. Inciting a very goofy mental image of 20,000 bugs fucking around in a mech like in a Wells Waldo drawing. After finding out the real purpose of his invasion and the aliens' real craftiness, Ice Cube watches another news broadcast again about the world's data shortage getting drained. This entire world is apparently so chronically online that absolutely no one opted to save their cash in physical form, and the entire economy got everyone broke overnight. As proven when the news channel this is in decides to use an AI-generated voice instead of paying someone to do it like in every other broadcast till now. Suddenly, a notification for memories getting deleted from Facebook takes up, and Icy Square quickly speeds into it to see his wife's memorial page slowly turn into dust. He watches firsthand his images all disappear without a trace, and then looks into his DMs where it goes to replay her last message over and over until the thing is wiped out as well, somehow warping in the process of leaving him. This is the best moment in the entire movie. Please forget that a man like this definitely has like 2 flash drives of her memories and a good amount of physical stuff to replace all this, meaning this really isn't that bad. How this movie is an actual multi-billion-dollar company fact piece of film and not an awful 2013 fan film dropped on YouTube might be beyond me. The editing is of an ADHD content form channel, with how much it controls the direction of the audience attention and how fast it moves every single cut. I promise you, if you play this right next to a Pack God video and then do fuck else while they go on at different monitors, you'll only notice the difference once the Pack God once ends first. It's almost like an extension of that idea that Netflix came up with, that movies and TV shows should be boring, mildly interesting schlock, so the company can get more money from you putting it on the background while you work. It's like if instead of watching Mr. Beast for free and indirectly giving him a cent doing so, you just pay him first for every video you watch. So anyways, after the Bugs fuck his wife from beyond the grave, Ice Cube takes a moment to start deleting Chrome tabs for some reason when he realizes the hacker livestream tab is still on, and figures that this is probably the best thing to do now that humanity is fucked. Upon clicking, the very first line uttered by the hacker is that their live stream was a warning and that they knew aliens were coming and were just trying to help people. And that there just has so fucking much to unpack. First of all, how the hell did they figure out that the aliens were going to attack? As of now, we have no reason to believe these guys believed in extraterrestrial life before this whole thing, unless these people were YA book protagonists that were the only people who saw these signs of alien life before everyone else did. More importantly, how did they figure out that they wanted data? What kind of faraway species from Kepler 22b would feed on lines of electricity and code instead of food and water? Wouldn't their little bug society be only lightly advanced from having to eat all of their iPhone power constantly? Wouldn't it be way more efficient in this situation to just peacefully mug the United States for all their electronic knickknacks, probably using the lack of knowledge humanity has on them in order to trick them into thinking they were nigh unstoppable or something? Also, in a couple of moments after this, we find out that this dude speaking is actually Ice Cube's son in disguise, which begs more questions like, if the guys behind this could contact someone from the DHS, why not warn them already? And why not warn the population right now, seeing that the attack is finally up and running? I mean, of course, if you go up to a top fan and talk to them like you're another top fan, they're not going to budge if you're trying to pitch your conspiracy theory like some very deadly, annoying, schizophrenic show meeting. But why are you deciding to start this live stream during the invasion, not before? Oh wait, the answer to all these questions is the War of the Worlds 2025 works in mysterious ways. So Ice Cube, both because of realizing there's a 100% chance these guys would delete the live stream as soon as it was over, and because it's plot convenient to do it now, he downloads the live stream. Can't do that, but whatever, and puts his voice through an editing software. As soon as Ice Cube puts the voice back at its original pitch, his previous assumption about them being smart enough to cover up their tracks is put into question, as instead of putting more filters into his voice, like L from Death Note, or funnier yet, putting character AI voice filter on it, it reveals the speaker's original voice as it to be. Ice Cube glares at the camera to signify he might know who it is, and he rushes to confront his son for being the hacker. Ice Cube reacts to this, getting up from his chair and sharing like he got a legendary skin knife from CSGO Lotto, while his son just stands calmly as if he is not about to get the biggest ass whooping in American history, and tells him, now that his conspiracy theory is rendered correct, they should start proudly linking up and get to thwarting aliens together like a family at last. After abandoning the call and I guess just slumping in his chair alone for a while, he gets a Google zip file message to him that'll explain him what this Goliath thing is, and after spitefully scolding his flesh about not letting the government take on for him despite being the only ones that knew there were aliens coming, he spits back on him some pretentious but admittedly correct lines, and we get to look at the file. As we get a slideshow of these sheets, we get all our answers. The reason the hacker knew about the aliens was because he looked into some government papers about it out of reasonable reaction to being under the United States, and saw some old documents about the aliens tip-zooming for the Earth for no apparent reason. When an alien mecha crashed down this Earth someplace, they analyze its corpse and decide to start Goliath and gain as much data as they can about it. In a heavily blanked out paper for Goliath, they used a clearly photoshopped, not a real picture, and despite Ice having said there's the head of a DHS apparently, he's had no idea this was happening. This fool knew. Suddenly, Mr. Briggs of the FBI randomly 180s from a simple man with power to a supervillain. As Ice Cube and he get into a FaceTime in which he goes all, "Ah, yes, so you figured it out, very cold water," and gets in a yelling match with him about it. To be honest, I kind of get where he's coming from, really. How the hell are those bitch-ass aliens ever going to figure out they're doing this data collecting harvesting shit in the first place? I mean, it's a government secret, unless that extraterrestrial mole from earlier exists. But just as Briggs wraps up from his villain speech, he notifies his soldier he's now been dishonorably discharged, as all of his computer's capability are shut down instantly after he turns on the call. Ice Cube starts rushing all over his computer to try to do anything as his own government he's been a vocal supporter of starts lubing his asshole for when his entire enemy and his ass gets jailed. Or I assume so, since he can't just do that. But just after the camera zooms in on his reaction, revealing his Zoom has like 4 other computers he can already use, his son suddenly hacks his computer with the whole Shutterstock hacker photo and all blaring from the desktop. Somebody starts a conversation with Ice Cube with a phrase, "Shall we play a game?" A heat of a moment introduction to them, given out of having watched Saw last movie night and feeling swag as fuck for manhandling the USA. Ice Cube responds with an unintentionally hilarious "hell yeah," to which the hacker informs him this is his son and he's been watching him react to the file he's been giving like a react tuber fixed time and all. And he offers that should he team up with a rebellion, and also give him an Xbox One this Christmas, he'll let him use the computer. And so, when he says yes, he clicks on a link and restarts his computer back up and running, regaining his DHS account because I forgot to ban him as well. I'm shocked we didn't try to advertise this film the same way they did the Minecraft movie. I think that's honestly the most I could have done to save this. Just propel it to number 1 off of tricking irony Ron Zoomers into watching it for its meme value. I mean, it's already edited like a Pat God video after all. Maybe put on single word TikTok subtitles over this and then split into 3 30-minute segments. Post-irony makes you extremely prone to propaganda. Anywho's, he gets a notification by Mark and we get to see a picture of him right beneath the good news that she's alright now, showcasing faith in the corner while Mark leers over the camera like a maniac narcissist. Ice Cube is a fan of how this has gone. He gets in a call with his hacker son and starts debating how they should go talking down whilst alien mechas still killing everyone. And they both decide the best way to do it is by an unauthorized planetary kamikaze via leaking into every data center under the sun and poisoning them so that the aliens would die on suck. Not realizing that with how long it took for these megacons to warrant worldwide rioting, they've probably got every data center by now making the sound of a straw when they're at the bottom of a cup. But it's better to take you with me than take me down. It's time to get to work. Hacker's son shows off his dad as the new member of their team. All of them have the same exact shitty PFP and voice effect, which is because they're not hackers and are actually all a bunch of extraterrestrial moles sneaking over to the world after offering him an early copies of Five Nights at Fudge Boobs too. I'm joking. They're all just Dave doing ventriloquism over voice chat to pretend he has friends. They devised a plan together to use Father Ice in order to sneak a virus into the data centers with his DHS credentials, along with wiping off all of those people's information to make them all slightly more secure. As they get to work and get on a 15-minute time skip, Ice Cube gets bored and decides they should leak government secrets already, and then starts to upload a video on the Disruptor YouTube channel that's just a zip file of a bunch of government secrets, which somehow turns into a fully edited video that's just a slideshow of some of the files, while a recording of Director Blaze plays in the backgrounds. The only thing that this fool knew is that he has the privilege of getting dome from lizard women under the war room table, and you don't. How many planets do you think have data all over them for those damn aliens to munch on? They would have probably come irregardless of Goliath, really. So anyways, at the end of the video, where the editing team behind Amazon Pictures, they generate a realistic edit of Icy Cube Force's face under the hacker's stock image. This does not alarm him at all. The fact that 1, the hackers just exposed him to be working for a hacker group, something he's definitely going to jail for. 2, the hackers just pin all their stuff on this one guy too. 3. This means there was clearly some cleanly cut PNG of his dad's face in that zip file. And 4. The movie drops all reasonability that all of those news and videos were published as Ice Cube was doing all of his work, because the moment this is revealed, like 6 different news organizations publish shit about this guy like they already know it. But anyways, now that the public knows, time to use the upload the same thing on every single data center in this entire Earth option that they normally use on tripping up and telling everyone that they're going to invade them and steal all of their oil. They use it to spread the rabid virus that the other boys were all busy cooking up on their computers while they were doing all of this, built to kill the alien. And with this, we get a short montage of the alien mechas crumbling as the world cheers on, using their last little fraction of electricity we have left in order to take down those big octopussies for giving them all that trouble in the first place. Right before humanity plunges into a post-apocalyptic wasteland in which any amount of internet is an expensive, sought-after item, causing an irreversible surge of blood and violence until one man looks back at the history books talking about this and realizes they could have just did this.
Protective shield! Protective shield! Protective shield! No Dracula! No mummy! No Marcelito!
Oh shit, wait. Oh shit, wait. The load is instead suddenly broken up by some anonymous source that sees with some aliens on some UFO watching all of this, or the government, because Ice Cube's name just been plastered all over social media. And suddenly, all of his hacker buddies, protective gift sets that they use instead of turning off cameras for some reason, get torn off, and we see them get brutally murdered right next to their eyes. But no, it still doesn't mean he has friends. These are just clips he found on and set to play whenever this happened. So, because the aliens managed to find out where the hackers all live, but somehow not where he is, Ice Cube is conveniently the only one on Git, and he uses his luck to yet again check if his son's okay. Because Dave is adopted and thus doesn't have a hereditary resilience gene like his dad and his sister, the laser blast 1000% kills him, no cap. But fortunately, in a shocking plot twist, Dave cloned his own ass and sent him all away and away onto his friend's house, so even when he's in heaven, he can watch his reanimated homunculus with all the same memories as he has, bring more joy and wonder to his world. You can tell this is true because that would mean his dad never has been to his son's room, giving us a Shutterstock background on his green screen, but it's definitely not his house and got no question, which I disbelieve he wouldn't notice based off of the existence of that face freezer camera, and 2, he had no reason not to just face through the house getting blown up on his camera like, oh yeah, I'm not in my house actually. Let's just hope his homunculus doesn't have different mental illnesses than the original one does and decides to do something awful. Actually, scratch that. That's actually a pretty good horror short story prompt. I should do that once I gain the ability to not suck at art. So now that we've done the classic Pixar move of making us believe someone's dead without showing their corpse so that they could reveal they were wrong immediately right after, Second Dave and Ice Cube both miss a complete mental shutdown response about how they're both now homeless thanks to the uneducated swagger of a black teen. Ice Cube, after processing this a little, starts berating his son for not pointing his fake IP somewhere else, and how he just lost both of them their house. But before he explains himself, the plot device girl from the data center calls him up and decides to postpone this talk for just a couple hours later. Right on, Sandra starts to show off more about her bug alien hyperfixation and shows off how these bugs are actually part bug and part machine. This raises the very good question of, were these bugs like born in this way, or did their species just get disgusted by the weakness of their flesh and decide to become only reliant on data? Because that just sounds like some cyberpunkified version of this universe to me, like some kind of transhumanist fuck-up that hurts everybody in the long run. Seeing this, he gets Faith onto the call, and Dave, just so he gets filled in too, and asks her if she already has that deadly lap-lock cannibal code on her person right now. Faith, forgetting there was a whole article written about it, asks him how he knows it, like it's some deeply kept secret, and then the conversation spirals a bit into arguing about the cannibal code, which ends with all of them agreeing that it's probably for the best shot at saving humanity from complete apocalypse. This prompts Faith to go cook up that code and the NASA woman to throw a Kubrick stare into the camera for like a second. Ice goes to ask the DHS, the one he's just kinda been fired from due to leaking the Goliath papers, to give Secretary Crystal for his broadcast thing to everything purpose, and the guy behind the DHS account obviously tells him to drink 60% hydrofluoric acid and 40% sulfuric acid now, which makes him say, well, call me a piece of plastic, before immediately barging into a top secret government Zoom call with only a password generator. Everybody somehow not immediately noticing him joining the call as if everyone's dumb. Both thankfully and disturbingly, the men at the round table are talking about bombing down the very building that Mr. Ice Cube is sitting in. All in order to get rid of the evidence of their $1 billion brick in the building. And to get rid of our protagonist so he can't spread public information about Goliath a little more spreadingly. Unfortunately for Ice Spice, we can already see that's a jet hurtling towards the place, so the best thing to do now is probably grab his phone and a parachute and fly down somewhere safe. Unfortunately, the blast radius is about the size of a fully rolled out film reel containing the entirety of Seed and Daniel uninterrupted, meaning, as the building shuts down power and Mrs. Ice Cube's computer, the people around DC are at least getting evacuated to safety. Probably so they can look up the news on their grease-filled, dingy smartphones and see that Ice Cube has tragically committed suicide today via calling an airstrike on himself, like a JoJo's character when they get depressed. But unfortunately, that's fucking pussy behavior, because Ice Cube immediately calls up his fam and tells his son to get his damn cannibal code cooked up so that he can actually become suicidal. But do it while leaving some good in the world by sticking that virus in a thumb drive and loading it to fuck everything up. Oh, and write the goodbye later to soon-be orphans. One of the things about this movie that makes it so weak is that it doesn't want to approach anything of what it presents in an even interesting angle. There's no other way in this movie to elaborate or introduce an aspect into the story that is without a character just bluntly stating it to the audience or something. It feels like it's trying to gish gallop through all of its plot points in order to stop you from questioning the bullshit on display. Stop looking at me like that, please. When I do it, it's for humor. What if instead of having the automaton of a woman Sandra go into one of the buildings that the alien mechas are sucking up, hear me out, the alien mecha goes for the very building Ice Cube is at, leading to a scene in which Icy Cube rushes down to whatever it's at and starts walloping those extraterrestrial bastards while we, the audience, still trapped in the machine, get to watch from some map how it's going. Ending when Cubeford finds some of the bugs in the servers and then throws them in a jar and brings them upstairs. So we, the audience, can learn information on what's happening through visuals, leading to Ice Cube doing something we know will, like, harm him while we sit and watch. And maybe when he brings some of the clues up, he can start experimenting with them while looking at the computers. Like a montage of Ice Cube looking up articles and newsletters regarding the invasion while testing out himself if any of those are true or not. That would have been way more engaging. You can also even make the place that the alien mecha was aiming for to be the Goliath surfer, so that Ice Cube could question why this room he's never been to says Goliath, adding a form of intrigue to it. And better yet, you can also have Ice Cube squash one of the bugs out of anger like, those alien bastards shot up my kids, for some extra bit of characterization. So the plan is, since the DHS won't allow thumb drives in the building, which is now explained why they do something that dumb, Faith's boyfriend tells Ice to do like Faith and stand still as he pulls out a working and connected Amazon delivery drone from thin air and says he can use this to bring over him and save the Earth. For some reason, he tells his dad to order the flash drive on Amazon. I guess because the delivery drone is purchase activated, because needing an alibi. Does he just want to see which one comes faster? So anyways, as bummers rush in to fuck over those aliens before they give the president and realize, are they watching CNN for every single news broadcast in this film? Ice Cube gives them some important stuff for them to win back their Earth battery. First, he gives them the Goliath files by DMs and tells them to load it right onto the thumb drive so that the whole world, including the aliens, could be made sure to know what's going on. Then, he gives the other members access to full control over his DHS computer account so that they can do this job better and all. And lastly, he tells his son clone Second Dave to make sure that drones alright, whatever he's supposed to do from that. With the alien mecha stomping all over the place, we got a first-person perspective Zoom call of Mark piloting the drone in a way that's certainly attempting to get the aliens to pay attention to him. And zip past them towards his location, Mark, along with getting some of those lightweight alien mechas, gets a full-ass government jet spawned right beside it, which either means that the government already knows this drone is piloted by the hacker's lackeys, or that this jet just started chasing Amazon delivery drones. Whatever the reasoning, Dave somehow manages to immediately hack into the jet and starts using the thing just to blow up all the aliens, which must be extremely horrifying for the pilot inside. Or kinda hot, depends on what kind of guy the pilot is. But in a major upset, Mark's drone gets elbowed by the tentacle of some particularly sassy alien mecha, staggering downwards onto the ground from its speed, somehow the drone not missing or injuring any parts and only landing with its head down in the insides of an equally uninjured parking lot. From the amount of cars in here and the fact the only living thing in here is this one homeless guy in a tent, I'm assuming the aliens do actually plan on taking down humanity, seeing how there's absolutely no way the survivors weren't taking a beeline straight to their cars or public transports in order to run away as fast as possible. I'm shocked this guy hasn't packed up his things, committing Grand Theft Auto in one of the cars, and left the city. I'd commit a crime if it was during the apocalypse. Maybe this guy just surrendered to stop worrying and love the bomb. So anyways, because the homeless man was busy plugging his ears to not to go with death, he didn't notice the drone rudely interrupting him, making him unknowingly over the level of Stanislav Petrov as the most powerful man with the least agency in human history, with his decision on whether to flip the drone upwards or not possibly dictating whether humanity survives or doesn't. So in a stroke of quick thinking, Mark tells Faith to press the button on his computer that gives that man's phone number in order to ask for help, to which Faith replies about the dubiousness of a homeless man having a phone. This is a cell characterization. That means Faith doesn't understand poor people, because she doesn't realize you need an electronic in order to function in society. So anyways, they get his number and immediately go to very politely ask him to flip the drone over a DM. The homeless guy, obviously very concerned about some mysterious CIA stranger getting his phone number without his knowledge, but more concerned about whether that drone wouldn't just hit and die again, asks his intentions. Mark just gets straight to the old reliable and deals him free internet for over a year if he doesn't, but he retorts with telling those cunts they ought to spy on them with that internet. We're trying to characterize this random minor character as some greasy schizo of a crack pipe, which is pretty confusing since the plot revolves around a conspiracy theory about the government that turns out to be true and a hacker organization that correctly knows the aliens are going to come down on Earth and cause havoc. So that and the very fact that he can just find out government officials can just get his number like that, I say he should look like a good guy. And with again some more quick thinking, they up the deal and give him an even better one, $1,003 in Amazon gift card cash. The homeless man, angered because 1, he doesn't even use Amazon, and 2, they could have just Venmo'd at him for some more useful money, and 3, Amazon is puppeteered by the ginger population, is so disgusted by this transaction that he just rushes over and flips upwards the drone so that these cunts will never near him again. Back to business, Dave is throwing himself through the air to his destination again. ICQ asks him to point him to his building, prompting a stressed Faith to give him a break for a first day of manning a massive CIA thingamajig that she was never trained for, that she's also using just perfectly now, as she shows his staff that his destination is just beside him on that one door. As the 5-minute mark on the bomber's attacks on the DHS is hit, the drone's entrance is blocked off by the Valley of Alien Mechas. Mark's Amazon drones show the mechas outlined as obstacles, like as it be on ISIS pewter. You think that being funded by Amazon, they could snap the real interface of one of their own delivery drones instead of making this clearly fake and scuffy design. But I guess it would be too unsanitary thanks to employees not being able to wash their hands after pissing in the jars. Second Dave appears there for the rescue, but he realizes he's got no missiles to launch against the mechas, so Second Dave decides to kind of just kamikaze into them instead, effectively committing second-degree murder on the pilot, ensuring Second Dave will never go to heaven to meet his clone so they can have a temporal paradox happening. So now the drone is suddenly in the building, just inches away from either a vicious murder come down from their dear papa or a darkly humorous accidental murder after the drone speeds too hard into Ice Cube's skull, stabbing his brain with its propellers. As the battery of a drone instantly drops from a 60% straight to 15%, and the movie slides into a small, unexplained Han Solo statue, because I guess even this movie isn't spared from being able to connect to Fortnite. The Wi-Fi signal finally reaches the corners of its bubble and leaves Dave's having to fly blindly in a daze through the corners. Ice Cube is so stressed and pumped up that he starts to run for the cameras like Foxy from Five Nights at the Fudds. And to add even more panic and stress to the scenes, just after stumbling to one of the data rooms and trying to find that damn flash drive drone, the alien mechas are now conveniently sacking the DHS that ICE is in, which leads to them trampling over one of the alien tentacles and then yelling, "Boom, bitch, get out of the way," while wrestling away from him. Eventually, Ice Cube was seated neatly into the folds of a DHS data storage room, in where the Goliath server, that according to the 3D map that is obviously just a Blender model with an X-ray on, just has its real name written plain as day on the top of it, like it's not some government top secret. Now that it's spotted, the NASA hoe asks if Mark came yet, just to see Mark just might not come, being dangerously close to shutting off at just 15% battery. It did just drop 45% of its battery in the last 3 minutes. But just 3 minutes left on Ice Cube's smoky gravestone, they finally catch up. And so our story ends in a blaze of glory. It's the aliens all, "Oh shit, he doesn't know the password." Ice Cube, upon this, randomly blurts out to Faith to take the security cam footage of this very inexplicable little spot and rewind it to see anyone entering into it so they can copy it. This is actually a pretty nice detail, because if Ice Cube was in his daughter's position, he probably would have just pulled out some small part of his DHS Guardian thingamajig and used it to open that thing up using some rudimentary password cracker. But he knows his daughter would probably deduce password cracker is a terrible slang for a Caucasian bouncer, so he just tells her to rewind some footage to yesterday instead. Look at this even more inexplicable camera up into the number pad's face. Props to the engineer who was assigned to make a top secret machine tucked in the DHS and just put a camera right next to it for anyone looking to break in. And now that Ice Cube got the flash drive and is now in the Goliath, ready to give his last hurrah to the earth, Faith stares from her monitor as he crawls towards the input with flash in hand, kept apart by the alien tentacles when he finally chucks that thing down, leading to all cameras in the building to inexplicably shut down for dramatic effect. Everybody's on edge and ready to explode, as even just a simple error like it not loading properly or Ice Cube plugging the drive in the wrong direction could be vital to it working or not. But NASA chick decides to look up the government thingamajig again, and lo and behold, because it's working, the US jets decide to abort the mission out of personal embarrassment, saving Ice Cube with a fitting thematic parallel to the story. How much everybody involved in this movie should be deeply embarrassed. And after a cut to black, we appear ourselves in a solemn future in which, despite mass rioting and global damage, the world has still somehow gone back to normal, thanks to, I guess, them managing to somehow force the last surviving electrobugs to vomit back all their lunch back into their system, after they've carefully removed the virus and then cheap restore software back into usability, which most probably means this was cut between like half a year, because that's way too much labor I can imagine someone doing in a month. This thought is swiftly disproven when the email Ice Cube wrote in case he slips off his gamer chair and hits his head too hard on the edge of a table gets sent to her despite being scheduled for like a week, I think. Comes out at this moment. We get to see Faith's silent reaction to the letter as she scrolls down and we see the in memoriam photos, which are all mostly creep shots from Ice's Uber camera system, and none of himself were about any particularly important event. Faith is assumedly so normalized to this behavior, she wonders if his failed alien invasion would make him more or less protective as a result, since they realistically just try again sometime. We get some more sad talking about the aftermath of this event, along with some social media scrolling about it. In this we get to see the Mark mentioning on a post about the Cannibal Code paper the fact this was responsible for saving the world just like this saves his dad from cancer, and learn the DHS director got straight to jail for the Goliath leaks for violating the First and Fourth Amendment, in a photo that is definitely staged. With how much he was directly involved with this, I'm pretty sure he was just flown out to some off-brand Epstein Island to wait out the backlash. The worst part of that sentence is that somebody could definitely just start another Epstein Island. We can also see that Nazareth has hopped up to the organization top dog for some reason. Thanks to his world-threatening debacle, the Radford family is now regarded as our brand new Lord and Savior, sending them a video on the Joe Rogan podcast with a thumbnail of Icy just giving an awkward thumbs up to the camera while two hackers do FNAF 2 teaser faces because I guess they just don't have a photo of the rest of the family. For our last few moments with a momentous achievement, we cut back to Ice Cube's computer in which we see his desktop background change from a DHS emblem of clip art swagger from the beginning of the movie to a shitty Photoshop job to the already shitty hacker splitter at the end of it, to signify just how much he changed. He gets a phone call by the DHS secretary while he's off driving to his extraterrestrial government mole club, in which, just like a filthy capitalist, he congratulates Icy for going against old tradition and being a true visionary, since, you know, he saved the world and all, and is seemingly not really getting any promotion or compensation about it. Until now, though, as he moves on to ask him if he's willing to help pioneer some even better and harder version of Goliath to the person who saved the entire world from Goliath in the first place. He's even promising that this time it won't sacrifice people's privacy, which I had counted to be a lie. I'm guessing this guy is so corporate-pilled and big min-maxed that he sees saving the world as an exceptional 9-to-5 work. So Ice Cube, rather predictably, tells him actually he's going to use his big DHS engines to watch them jerk off now. Icy is now a full revolutionary middleman to keep your cunts from trying to do any more wretched practices. And this is surely not going to lead to some FBI agent splitting his head open with a tomahawk, let alone just getting fired. The secretary models like a breedably beta buffoon in this showcase of peak masculinity. And Ice just closes the call and starts looking at pictures of his family. And so, just like God's interest into every one of us personally, it has ended. I think this is a pretty good time so far to ask a couple of important questions, I believe. Who the hell made this thing? What the hell happened with Rich Lee as he was making this? Well, in case you were wondering, I did some research and turns out there's a link between this film and the music video to Rap God. Yeah, he directed this and that. Actually, he directed a fuck ton of Eminem's music videos. He directed his shitty Revival era videos and even their Venom. He was actually even doing music videos for other prolific artists, including but not limited to 50 Cent, Lana Del Rey, Billie Eilish, Moon 5, posthumous Michael Jackson, the fucking Chameleonaire. And besides some TV shows I've never heard of, he's never touched movies in his 20 directing career until now. What's up? Well, according to his bio page from his personal website, this guy was actually quite an accomplished dude in terms of showbiz shit. He got his start as set modeler for Broadway theaters in New York, mostly sculpting shit out of wood. Then he left for Los Angeles and started working for Disney, which means his film is now a direct link from it to Chicken Little, by the way. Then he left Disney, dropped off sculpting in order to pursue the new hot trend of CG animation. Then he got the job working on CG for films such as Minority Report, I Am Legend, the Pirates of the Caribbean trilogy, and then while he was working that for the 2000s, he was working on eventually dropping working movies in order to shift the rest of his career on making music videos. I'm guessing that directing films again was more of a, who wants to direct this? Someone want to direct this? You want to do this? Okay, you're in, kind of chick from executives. I don't know about you folks, but if I was looking to direct my first ever film, it wouldn't be the second lowest rated film on Letterboxd. I'd probably make it the first lowest rated film on Letterboxd instead. That way I literally couldn't have anywhere to go but up after it. Huh. Suddenly it makes a whole lot of sense why this turned out the way it did, actually. He spent his career working on visual arts, bouncing from one mode to the next for 30 years straight, and then was suddenly forced to actually tell a story instead of draw it. This film was just a product of some director who was really not right for the job. And instead of using his skills to do some kind of house-style creative fuckfest that's just an excuse for the creator to dick around for 80 minutes, he decided to make a film completely set inside a screen, the most unflexible environment for anyone in the arts. Unflexible for someone unimaginative, maybe. You could probably do some fucked up glitch art shit in this format, but, you know, since of course the director is also the auteur in every single movie ever, especially this one, we're gonna look at some more weird stuff about our autopsy. If you're asking why I'm looking up who made this stuff and and who's responsible for it instead of looking it up like in in-depth papers about this whole thing, it's because as of now, there's not been a single damn person who worked on this that's done an interview about it so far. Everybody's just out pretending as if nothing happened at all. There's not been a peep or a blurb, nothing at all, just complete radio silence over it. I mean, there was kind of an interview one time during some Kai Cenat stream in which Kai hangs out with his buddies. He tells them that in just 3 minutes, Fred Durst is going to come in the house and partake in a sweet interview, so they can learn tips and tricks from each other as one possible right insider to another. Unfortunately, he's accidentally tricked his friends as he realizes he accidentally switched up his grocery shopping list that day with the address that which the email asked him to join was going to. Watch as Kai Cenat sees Ice Cube open the door and then realize why he came here and why the severed head of Fred Durst was drone delivered to his house just the other day. But really, the entire interview was mostly about his new album rather than the movie he was talking about. He mostly just hangs out like a cool grandpa at his children's birthday party. The most he says about his time in the DHS is that filming the whole thing took about 15 days, which sounds pretty reasonable, knowing that most films take somewhere between a month and a third of a year. But the whole thing was filmed like that because of a quarantine, which confuses me because if they wanted to pack this film and release it as soon as possible, why did they spend so much time sitting on the thing before releasing it? And that the reason for them sitting on the thing was because they had to go for the ringer of getting bought up by Amazon in order to have it sold exclusively on Prime. This is a satisfying answer, yes, but does that mean the executives watched this film before buying it? And how much of those days recording for the film were before the deal, and how much of those days were after? Because clearly the Amazon propaganda embedded into this film was put after the acquisition, and clearly they had to go back in the studio in order to record Ice Cube talking about what's in people's Amazon carts for that. This means that he probably meant like 15 plus 1 days of filming. Or alternatively, 14 plus 1. The only listed production company behind this is the Russian Basliv's company. If you haven't heard of them, that's expected. They're quite dang small. If you've heard of them, then you're a Russian child in a dirty crack house watching DVDs in order to distract from your parents arguing. Because this company primarily specializes in horror-ish slop. You've got Night Watch, Hardcore Henry, Wanted, Apollo 18, Abraham Lincoln Vampire Hunter, which doesn't sound as fun as you'd imagine, 9, and also a whole host of Screen Live films that help bring the genre at its feet, such as Unfriended, Profile, Searching, Unfriended, Dark Web. I'm guessing there's another one called Block Button or something. And lastly, War of the Worlds. You could also see that the owner of the company, Timur Benkamdetov, also does a lot of the directing too of some of these movies. Mostly the ones in the 2000s. The plan behind this, I can ascertain, is that they grab some old IP from last century that nobody cares about anymore, but most people remember, probably by at a cheap price, and they produce a mediocre alien invasion movie with some War of the Worlds figures slapped on it. Make it even cheaper by making the Screen Live, and then sell it to old people. Aha! Old people. That was the audience. Except they fucked it up so badly, everyone of all ages came to gawk at it. Oof! And after that, well, actually, I'm sad to say that I've actually squeezed every inch of information that a normal man can attain from this film as of now. Congratulations! You've got to the end of this video. You have sufficiently entertained yourself for the past 1 hour trying to listen to my fluctuating voice. You are now away and rejuvenated to either go to that job interview you're nervous about or go to sleep and have nightmares of me. Or if you don't really have any plan for the day and you're just not doing much, I'll quickly introduce you to the H-Bomber Guy Bad Movie Hypothesis, as come up with it in his famous video of him living on Control-Alt-Delete. Every bad piece of media, on a scale of how self-aware and intentional it is, will likely unintentionally transform into a meaningful work through the author's close connection to it with just enough creative thinking. I want you to hear this and apply it towards this movie to make a good comprehension of it. Because I sure can't make any fucking sense of this. And if this is the first time you've ever heard of that H-Bomber Guy video I mentioned, or you my dad, Lamp signing off.